FreeBooksTube is glad to produce, publish and offer The Phoenix's Power. Rebuild your life using alchemic symbols. By Sage D. Esotreasure. Sure, here's a resume in 488 words. The study of history. History can be a discouraging subject, but it also holds great constructive value. The value you get from history depends on your attitude. If you approach history with a pessimistic view, you will find evidence to support your pessimism. However, if you view history as a record of humanity's journey, similar to human memory, you can gain valuable insights into who we are, where we came from, and why we are here. By understanding the past, we can better understand ourselves and the world around us. We can learn from the people who came before us and their contributions to society. In turn, we can hope that future generations will appreciate our efforts and try to learn from our mistakes. Will Durant identified several interesting aspects of history. As we delve deeper into the past, we find fewer and fewer prominent figures. History becomes a blur of countless people and events, with little recorded information. Only a few names stand out from this distant past. Society has always been divided into three groups: those who strive to make progress, those who hinder progress, and the vast majority who are indifferent. The interplay of these three groups shapes the rise and fall of knowledge. Progress relies on knowledge, but the very foundation of knowledge is constantly questioned. What we once thought we knew is now uncertain, and even long-held truths are challenged. Why is this so? Much of ancient wisdom stemmed from religion. People believed in a divine plan that governed everything. This plan has been interpreted and reinterpreted throughout history. The question arises, were these foundations true? These foundations represented commonly held beliefs that were considered essential for societal survival. One such concept is the Golden Rule: treat others as you would like to be treated. For centuries, this rule was considered a valuable principle, appearing in various religions and philosophies. However, few people truly lived by it. As living unselfishly becomes more difficult, some argue that the Golden Rule was never valid. They believe we should take advantage of others. This new rule, however, has led to disaster after disaster. Yet, throughout history, there have always been kind and wise individuals who have tried to do what is right. In primitive times, humans relied on intuition to understand the world around them. They learned simple rules and the consequences of violating them, which laid the foundation for morality. Throughout the ages, morality has been elaborated upon, interpreted, and challenged. Individuals have emerged to serve the growing needs of humanity. We have a legacy of learning, not just superstition or false doctrine. However, it has been misused. We are in trouble now because we failed to separate good principles from our own desires. The price of progress, a legacy of suffering and symbols. While we naturally pursue our desires, achieving them ethically is the ideal, but often a rare one. When desires clash with ethics, we take what we can, however we can. This has been the way of the world, but it doesn't mean ethics are wrong. It simply shows we struggle to live up to ideals that conflict with our inherent selfishness and ambition. We can learn from those who came before us, understanding their fates and the struggles they faced in bringing us good things. With few exceptions, those who dared to rise above the common standards of their time faced severe consequences. History is filled with stories of great leaders in human culture who paid dearly, with their lives or reputations, for their efforts to uplift humanity. One such example is Akhenaten, the Egyptian pharaoh who lived 1,200 years before Christ. Considered the first human being of whom we have a record in the sense of Homo sapiens with a focus on his intelligence, he died of a broken heart, possibly hastened by poison. Years later, Pythagoras met a tragic end. His school was burned down by a fanatic, and he perished in the flames. Confucius, another great mind, uttered his final words, "I have failed," leaving a sense of disappointment. Lao Tzu, completely disillusioned, rode off into the desert in search of a utopian world where wisdom and peace could prevail. Zoroaster, while kneeling in prayer, was struck down by a spear. Christ's crucifixion and Muhammad's poisoning are further testaments to the resistance humanity has shown towards teachings that challenged existing desires and environmental pressures. The idealist has always been an isolated figure, a voice of reason amidst a sea of selfishness, greed, war, and hate. Slowly, these vices closed in, silencing those who dared to teach a better way, like Bruno and Savonarola, who were burned at the stake for their beliefs. Despite this sad story of suffering, the knowledge these individuals imparted remains a priceless heritage for future generations. In the past, when philosophy and religion were intertwined under the control of ancient priesthoods, many mysterious symbols were established. These symbols have come down to us as mythology, legends, heraldic devices, and various pictorial representations of universal truths. These symbols were preserved precisely because they were not fully understood. No one cared enough to destroy them, or perhaps simpler interpretations were offered to disguise their true meaning, making them seem harmless to those unwilling to be challenged. Through these methods, ancient beliefs were perpetuated and became significant for us. One of the most intriguing symbols is the phoenix. This emblem appears to have originated in two distinct regions, Asia and Egypt. The Asian phoenix was a domesticated bird, with potentially more than one existing at a time. Male and female pairs are frequently depicted in Chinese art, seen as protectors and custodians of the secrets of immortality and longevity potions used by sages. This phoenix represented a happy and peaceful family bird, often portrayed with stunning beauty in art. The burden of progress, martyrs to ideals, and the power of symbols. In place of worshipping the god Amon, Akhenaten championed the Aten, a deity of the sun disk. He even incorporated the symbol of the Aten into his own name. He envisioned God as the sun, with each ray ending in a human hand offering help to the sick. The Aten represented the power of light, bringing happiness, peace, plenty, and liberation from ignorance, sorrow, and fear. It was a philosophy of eternal love where hate could not exist. Akhenaten, considered the first pacifist, valued peace above all else. He believed in a world brotherhood, with everyone created equal in the eyes of the Aten. He saw no strangers, only one world population, where everyone was a child of the same power, our brother. However, Akhenaten's vision was far ahead of his time. To fulfill it, he had to watch his empire crumble as he refused to fight his enemies. His pacifism was seen as weakness, and he died labeled a coward, a man not brave enough to fight. His legacy was tarnished. His name was removed from monuments, and every effort was made to erase his memory. Yet, through unforeseen circumstances, Akhenaten stands tall today as a great figure, a beacon of non-Christian or Jewish ideals. Though some believe he belonged to a Semitic dynasty, he remains one of Egypt's most deserving rulers. On his mummy case, an inscription reads in Egyptian glyphs, "God can call upon me unto all eternities, and I will not fail." This message echoes from 1200 BC. Fast forward 600 years to the glory of Greece and the peak of human intellectual output. Between 600 BC and the beginning of the Christian era, most of the world's religions experienced a surge of spiritual awareness. This period saw Pythagoras of Samos emerge as a central figure in Greek learning. We owe him much of our understanding of mathematics, with his 47th proposition being one of the most famous formulas in the world. He was a philosopher, a mystic, and a communal leader. Pythagoras is considered one of the founders of a system similar to communal living. In Crotona, a Dorian colony in Italy, he established an institute where all members were equal, sharing goods and beliefs. They rose together to sing hymns to the rising sun. This remarkable person, a mathematician, a musical pioneer with his theory of harmony, and a leader in reform movements across various fields, met a tragic end. Pythagoras refused to accept a wealthy man's son who lacked moral character. This enraged the man, who incited a mob to burn down the institute, killing Pythagoras and many of his disciples in the fire. This was the reward for progress, for attempting to leave a positive mark on the world. This period also saw Zoroaster, who brought Eastern wisdom and mystical writings to the world. He significantly influenced Hindu theology. He believed in fire as the visible symbol of life's purifying power, constantly keeping the world clean. While kneeling in prayer before the altar of his faith, he was murdered by a spear thrust to his back. A great leader and wise counselor, he fell victim to those who found it easier to eliminate him than to emulate his high standards. On the other side of the world, Gautama Buddha stands out as one of the few great teachers who escaped major punishment for his teachings. The legacy of light, visionaries, martyrs, and the enduring power of wisdom. Though not a martyr in the traditional sense, Buddha passed away surrounded by his disciples, honored but with a touch of mystery. The circumstances surrounding his death were due to complications from a meal, not intentional poisoning. His final words to his disciples were, "Work out your own salvations with diligence. There is no other way." The impact of Buddha's teachings is undeniable, rivaled perhaps only by Christianity in terms of sheer numbers. His message of peace, self-improvement, and purifying the mind was radical for his time, and remains relevant today. Although we haven't necessarily surpassed these teachings, we often fall short of living up to their ideals. Buddha's legacy continues to resonate, with schools based on his teachings experiencing a revival in Asia during times of conflict. The hope for many Eastern nations rests upon the ideals he championed. Across the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, in China and Korea, another great teacher emerged, Confucius. If ever a true socialist existed, it was Confucius. His philosophies on societal reform are strikingly similar to modern discussions of equality and social justice. Confucius, writing around 600 BC, stands as a pivotal figure in social reform. His Analects offer a clear picture of his beliefs on life. He was the first to propose that a nation's entire structure rests on a single foundation, an enlightened home. The parent-child relationship is the bedrock of civilization, a concept that should extend to all levels of existence. In the natural world, the old are always the parents of the young, who in turn become parents to the next generation. This concept extends to nations, continents, and even the earth itself, all vast composite homes. Those who live well in a small home thrive, and those who maintain peace within their home radiate a light that cannot be extinguished. Confucius advocated for a cooperative system of government based on the idea of a universal family. We are not just brothers or friends, we are all children of a divine force, destined to dwell together in equality. A ruler's power should be a privilege of service, focused on the common good. Leadership is not an excuse for personal gain or misuse of power. Unsurprisingly, Confucius wasn't universally popular. He was admired by those who knew him, but seen as an obstacle by others whose ambitions he challenged. His final words before death were a reflection of this: "I have failed. No prince has made me his counselor." Despite this, Confucius is revered throughout China. Shrines and temples dedicated to him stand tall, adorned with his name, and perhaps tablets inscribed with his eternal truths in the surrounding gardens. However, there are no portraits of the teacher himself. One concept that eluded Confucius was Taoism. He never fully understood Lao Tzu, his contemporary and slightly elder. Lao Tzu was an enigma, a figure shrouded in mystery. Born a slave, he was self-educated, never attending formal schooling. He spent his time contemplating the mysteries of the universe, either on hillsides or gazing at the skies. From his observations, he formulated the concept of Tao, the eternal reality that underlies everything. Tao, according to Lao Tzu, is synonymous with life itself. It is humanity, the world, and the formation of things. It is like rain that falls on mountains, gathers in streams, flows into rivers, and eventually reaches the sea. The sun then draws this water back up, sending it back to the mountains to fall as rain again. This is the cycle of existence, an eternal flow, a cosmic dance that embodies the true mystery of human experience. Lao Tzu believed that true understanding comes from within, a gradual process of personal awareness and connection with the infinite. He too wasn't content with his times. Disheartened by the wars and strife plaguing his people, he eventually left, riding an ox out of China and into the vast Gobi Desert, seeking the fabled land of immortals, a place where humans live together in peace, harmony, and mutual respect. He never returned. The phoenix of progress, cyclical rebirth of ideas, and the burden of ideals. There's another layer to the tapestry of these transformative teachers. Between 600 BC and 1 AD, the world witnessed the rise of the Athenian school, with Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates at its helm. We can recall here in Los Angeles how excerpts from Plato's Republic, published on the front page of the Daily News years ago, resonated deeply even when not fully understood by everyone. Aristotle, representing a more analytical and even cynical perspective, started his metaphysics with the simple premise: all humans crave knowledge, understanding, and security in beliefs unshakable by fleeting fancies. Ironically, Aristotle himself faced an unhappy end, unable to definitively prove some of his ideas. Nevertheless, his contribution to the generation of thought-provoking material remains significant. These Athenian giants, Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates, were accepted by early Christian leaders and never deemed heretical. In fact, their philosophies became the foundation of religious education in Christianity for the first 10 centuries. Other parts of the world also saw the emergence of great thinkers during this period. This cycle of the phoenix, rebirth and renewal, arguably laid the foundation for many of the moral structures that govern our modern world. We see a shift towards social awareness, with humanity beginning to recognize its responsibilities to itself and the world. Through these philosophers, the message resonated: we are not here solely to follow our whims, but to fulfill a greater purpose. Selfishness is the root of all evil, and these schools, Socratic, Pythagorean, Platonic, and Aristotelian, vehemently emphasize this. With the dawn of the Christian era, the phoenix was reborn again. In the manger of Bethlehem, a figure emerged who would forever alter the course of history: Jesus Christ. Arguably the most influential person ever to walk the earth, he was born into poverty, defying conventional notions of success. Misunderstood in his own time and often misinterpreted since, Jesus delivered a profound message: peace begins within the heart. Peace on earth and goodwill towards men. The entire Christian system rests upon this foundation. Love ye one another, blessed are the peacemakers, judge not, lest ye be judged. All these teachings aim to lay the groundwork for a new world order, free from the mistakes of the past. Today, Christianity boasts over 1 billion followers across various denominations. Despite their differences, they share a common text, the New Testament, and a belief in the divinity or divine inspiration of Jesus. They see the Christian way of life as a path for self-improvement for Western man. Let us remember, blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. This was the message of the man who was rewarded with crucifixion. The cycle of the phoenix continues. Though put to death, its message endures. It returns to Heliopolis to be burned on the sun's altar, only to be reborn from the ashes. Curiously, this brings us to the 6th century AD, where the rise of Islam is strangely intertwined with the phoenix. The dating is almost exact, and interestingly, Muhammad was initially heavily influenced by Christianity. The ever-burning phoenix, a legacy of conflict, connection, and the pursuit of knowledge. Christianity, with its core principles, emerged with the Prophet Muhammad. The Quran, the Islamic holy book, dedicates itself to God, the merciful, the compassionate, verse 1 of most chapters. Islam's initial purpose was to reform what was perceived as a corrupted faith. Ironically, over time, it itself became susceptible to corruption. The fact that Muhammad never wielded a sword in his lifetime was gradually overlooked, and the caliphs, Islamic rulers, adopted a more aggressive approach, aiming to conquer the world. This highlights a recurring issue with proselytizing religions: the drive to conquer other faiths, often at the expense of their own spiritual heritage. Islam's rise brought about significant change, not just within its own sphere, but also for the Western world. Significantly, Islam's influence spread as far as the Western Hemisphere, where it maintains a strong presence today. But how does this historical context impact our present-day relationships with life? Arguably, Islam's rise marked the beginning of a more open world. For the first time, Europe, previously smug in its isolation, was forced to acknowledge another major world power. Paradoxically, the safety and security offered by the Muslim Caliphate in Baghdad became a haven for persecuted Christians, physicians, lawgivers, educators, mystics, who fled there to escape persecution. Through Arabic translations, the intellectual works of Plato and Aristotle first reached the Latin West. It was a return through a stranger, with the more liberal caliphs of Baghdad proving to be great inventors and originators. They contributed significantly to our understanding of optics and astronomy, demonstrating their intellectual prowess. Prior to Muhammad, Christianity had not faced any major conflicts. But with the rise of Islam, both religions underwent significant transformations. This period arguably birthed the early post-Christian world as we know it, a world focused on culture, education, and the gradual end of the European Dark Ages. Europe emerged from isolation, with the establishment of great universities in Spain. This opening up paved the way for a global search for knowledge and a recognition of interdependence. In this light, the Muslim world's influence might be more significant than previously realized. However, Islam also needs to come to terms with its own founder, restoring the integrity of Muhammad himself, a man wise enough to live a life exemplifying a unique truth. In his case, his first convert was his wife, a powerful symbol in itself. The 12th century witnessed the next cycle of the Phoenix. Richard the Lionheart led the Crusades, aiming to liberate the Holy Land. The Crusades, however, proved to be a historical fiasco, failing to achieve their objective. Ultimately, the defeated Crusaders were forced to come to terms with Islam. Ironically, it was the Muslims who, in a gesture of peace, opened the roads to Jerusalem for Christian pilgrims, guaranteeing their safety. Thus, peace accomplished what war could not. The Crusades also marked the beginning of the complete collapse of feudalism in Europe. The continent transitioned towards a new environment that would eventually pave the way for the modern world. Interestingly, the Crusades saw the departure of 70 European kings and princes, along with their retinues and troops. This left Europe in the hands of the ladies, who took the opportunity to make some changes. One can imagine a scenario where these women, left in charge, undertook a thorough cleaning of the castles. More importantly, they began to invite artists, sculptors, poets, and troubadours into the palaces. While the men were away fighting, a new cultural movement blossomed at home, fostering a sensitive and artistic world previously unknown. Those who survived the Crusades and returned home found themselves in a completely different environment. The rigid military structure they left behind had been replaced by a nascent cultural scene. The Phoenix Rising, a cyclical tapestry of progress and transformation. The Crusaders eventually returned home to a gentler environment, finding it surprisingly pleasant after their experiences. This period witnessed a rise in the power of the bourgeoisie, merchants, artisans, and tradespeople. With increased stability, there was more time and opportunity for the arts and professions to flourish. Literary figures thrived, and refinement brought with it advancements in education, as seen in the palace schools of Charlemagne and others. The troubadours emerged, singing of beauty and crafting concepts like courtly love and the importance of human happiness. As this cycle neared its end, the world prepared to enter a new phase of the Phoenix, the 18th century, roughly 600 years later. This cycle is distinct. While the eagle or similar bird was often associated with power, think Caesar's eagles and the Crusaders' banners, it now took on a new significance. First appearing as the crest of Napoleon, it marked a descent from the ideal phoenix. The French Revolution and the rise of Napoleon, however, signaled the definitive end of feudalism. Nations began to emerge, freeing themselves from the oppressive rule of overlords and aristocracies. Following Napoleon's fall, democratic governments began to take root. Switzerland, influenced by Calvinist teachings, and other parts of Europe embraced these ideals. Lord Bacon's reforms in England were part of this movement. The 19th century witnessed an explosion of progress across all fields: economics, science, philosophy, humanities, policy, and professions. The emphasis shifted towards freedom, leading to the dismantling of stratified social structures. Equality of opportunity replaced slavery, which was abolished in both England and the United States, and eventually in most other countries. Thus, from the 18th century onwards, a dramatic shift occurred in our worldview on nearly everything. The rise of industry brought forth a vast array of commodities, leisure, luxury, and the right to personal enjoyment. Transportation and communication networks expanded dramatically, and entertainment became a specialized industry. The entire world transformed from its old foundations to a completely new paradigm. Napoleon, though not intentionally, played a pivotal role in this. By establishing a new perspective, he paved the way for the French Republic. His short-lived reign as emperor did not last, but its impact chipped away at the power of imperial dominance across Europe. From around 1800 onwards, a new world began to take shape. Throughout this period, we witnessed the rise of our own governments, unique ways of life, and a gradual improvement in society as a whole. Despite our challenges and mistakes, this mysterious pattern of cyclical change, predicted in ancient Egypt or perhaps even earlier, seems to be an inherent aspect of nature itself. The present moment presents another intriguing layer to this story. We are currently experiencing Pluto's transit through Scorpio. In ancient symbolism, Scorpio was associated with four key symbols: the scorpion, the serpent, the eagle, and the phoenix, an ascending order of quality. These symbols are all significant and relate to present transformations. Much speculation surrounds the specific changes this transit will bring. The prevailing view, with some support from ancient interpretations, suggests that Scorpio is the throne of Pluto, Pluto being the god of the underworld and transmutation. His current placement signifies something. As ruler of Scorpio, Pluto is dignified in Taurus, and these two signs have historically been linked to wealth, materialism, and the accumulation of things that ultimately cannot be held onto. Plato himself pointed out that the underworld is not a destination after death, but rather the physical world itself, where we are all here to work through some form of karmic debt. There's no other way to explain the trials and tribulations we face in life. The Phoenix, a beacon of renewal and a cycle of change. Our exploration of the Phoenix cycle brings us to a crucial juncture. If our interpretation holds true, Pluto's current transit through Scorpio signifies the necessity for a complete transformation. We must move away from the idolatry of material wealth, a pursuit that ultimately leads nowhere. We, unlike most cultures, might cling desperately to this fleeting illusion, even in the face of potential oblivion. As the saying goes, to make a hot air balloon rise, you need to shed weight. Similarly, our current economic models, focused solely on material gain, hinder progress and true happiness. They prevent us from taking pride in ourselves and overcoming the shame of our past transgressions. The next 600-year cycle, beginning roughly around 1800 and extending to 2400, presents a pivotal opportunity. This grand cycle is about the restoration of human values, the next significant step in our evolution. Signs of this shift are already emerging. However, we are currently caught in a paradox. We desperately cling to our mistakes, striving to control the world through wealth, military might, and outdated nationalistic ideologies. This stands in stark contrast to the core principle of the Age of Enlightenment, applying the wisdom of all time to solve current problems and achieve a more fulfilling future. While we explore potential solutions, new legislation, elections, and so on, the root cause lies deeper. It's about our ingrained beliefs around reward and punishment. As long as we equate poverty with punishment and wealth with reward, peace will remain elusive. Our purpose here transcends such simplistic notions. Looking around, we see echoes of Dante's Inferno, a world where individuals suffer the consequences of their earthly actions. They discover the futility of their pursuits, their material possessions offering no solace in the afterlife. They die bankrupt, filled with regret and a stark awareness of their mistakes. However, Dante's journey also leads him to Paradiso, where he experiences a vision of the holy city and reunites with his soul. Paracelsus and Nostradamus, among others, prophesied a similar transformation around the turn of the 20th century. They envisioned an emergence of profound wisdom, accessible to all, leading to a world governed by principles of peace and virtue. While hope and aspiration are essential, our daily actions must actively contribute to bringing about this better future. Nature, personified by the Phoenix cycle, reminds us that change is inevitable. We cannot outrun the consequences of our mistakes. We are gradually destroying our planet and the very values that sustain us. Ironically, We might even find ourselves grateful for threats like nuclear weapons, as they highlight the absolute necessity of improving our way of life for survival's sake. The stark choice before us is annihilation or survival. Deep down, we know nature doesn't intend our demise. After all, why create us in the first place? Nature's purpose is to nudge us towards maturity, to help us shed the shackles of our adolescent impulses. The symbol of the phoenix, throughout history, has represented universal renewal. It has inspired societies, organizations, and mystical groups dedicated to the reformation of human character. Alchemists, hermetics, and Kabbalists all aim to impart the same wisdom. The answer to all problems lies within us. The key to unlocking the mysteries of existence is forged from the base metal of our own nature. This realization is dawning upon us rapidly. There's no escape from it. Each individual must awaken to the power within, the power to solve problems, rectify mistakes, and cultivate positive qualities. This transformative journey is upon us, and there's no turning back. The phoenix ascending, alchemical transformations on the path to renewal. Our exploration of the phoenix cycle leads us to a profound realization. If our interpretation holds true, Pluto's transit through Scorpio signifies the necessity for a complete transformation. We must move away from the idolatry of material wealth, a pursuit that ultimately offers no lasting fulfillment. Unlike most cultures, we cling desperately to this fleeting illusion, even facing potential oblivion. As the saying goes, to make a hot air balloon rise, you need to shed weight. Similarly, our current economic models, focused solely on material gain, hinder progress and true happiness. They prevent us from taking pride in ourselves and overcoming the shame of past transgressions. The next 600-year cycle, roughly from 1800 to 2400, presents a pivotal opportunity. This grand cycle is about the restoration of human values, the next significant step in our evolution. Signs of this shift are already emerging. However, we are currently caught in a paradox. We desperately cling to our mistakes, striving to control the world through wealth, military might, and outdated nationalistic ideologies. This stands in stark contrast to the core principle of the Age of Enlightenment, applying the wisdom of all time to solve current problems and achieve a better future. While we explore potential solutions, new legislation, elections, and so on, the root cause lies deeper. It's about our ingrained beliefs around reward and punishment. As long as we equate poverty with punishment and wealth with reward, peace will remain elusive. Our purpose here transcends such simplistic notions. Looking around, we see echoes of Dante's Inferno, a world where individuals suffer the consequences of their earthly actions. They discover the futility of their pursuits, their material possessions offering no solace in the afterlife. They die bankrupt, filled with regret and a stark awareness of their mistakes. However, Dante's journey also leads him to Paradiso, where he experiences a vision of the holy city and reunites with his soul. Paracelsus and Nostradamus, among others, prophesied a similar transformation around the turn of the 20th century. They envisioned an emergence of profound wisdom, accessible to all, leading to a world governed by principles of peace and virtue. While hope and aspiration are essential, our daily actions must actively contribute to bringing about this better future. Nature, personified by the phoenix cycle, reminds us that change is inevitable. We cannot outrun the consequences of our mistakes. We are gradually destroying our planet and the very values that sustain us. Ironically, we might even find ourselves grateful for threats like nuclear weapons, as they highlight the absolute necessity of improving our way of life for survival's sake. The stark choice before us is annihilation or survival. Deep down, we know nature doesn't intend our demise. After all, why create us in the first place? Nature's purpose is to nudge us towards maturity, to help us shed the shackles of our adolescent impulses. The symbol of the phoenix, throughout history, has represented universal renewal. It has inspired societies, organizations, and mystical groups dedicated to the reformation of human character. Alchemists, hermetics, and Kabbalists all aim to impart the same wisdom. The answer to all problems lies within us. The key to unlocking the mysteries of existence is forged from the base metal of our own nature. This realization is dawning upon us rapidly. There's no escape from it. Each individual must awaken to the power within, the power to solve problems, rectify mistakes, and cultivate positive qualities. This transformative journey is upon us, and there's no turning back. In the realm of alchemy, the phoenix symbolizes the transmutation of base substances into spiritual gold. This spiritual gold represents the virtues of all things, the only treasure that can be saved and that resides within our own souls. It transmutes the base metals of ignorance into the pure substances of enlightenment. Alchemy is not just a mystical formula, it's a process that unfolds within us every day. The food we eat undergoes an alchemical transformation before it can nourish us. Every law, every pattern, everything we do must be transformed from a base substance into a potential virtue. True educational reform is not about destruction, but about redemption. The same holds true for every aspect of life. While many yearn for immediate change, we must remember that the only destiny we can completely control is our own. Each human being has the right to make changes necessary for their growth and development. No one else can grow for them, any more than someone else can eat for them. The food of experience must be consumed and digested by the individual, from which wisdom and a better way of living are transmuted. This is why the phoenix keeps rising, regenerating each level of society. Scorpio represents the level where many find themselves, the level of the backbiter, stinging with negativity. It also symbolizes all the unpleasant aspects of ourselves, jealousy, infirmities of attitude, and unforgiveness. To achieve liberation from this level, we must cease to dislike anything. This is the area of regenerating our material nature, our habits, life ways, and physical perspectives that burden us because we haven't conquered the negativity of the scorpion's sting. The next level is that of the serpent. Be wise as serpents. The serpent symbolizes wisdom, crucial for all people. It appears in the scriptures of countless nations and represents ancient enlightenment. However, the serpent's secrets, if abused, become poisonous. Used properly, wisdom becomes the foundation for the future. However, abused wisdom destroys its holder. We must overcome the negative aspects of knowledge, correcting the ignorance fueled by prejudice. We must move closer to the realization that it's our right to possess and utilize the accumulated wisdom of our race. True wisdom is always benevolent, never a means of scheming or escape, but a way of hoping and working towards what's necessary. Therefore, wisdom cannot be selfish, and selfishness destroys it. The next level is the ego, symbolized by the eagle. In a curious way, the eagle signifies vanity and temporal power. It's the objective that makes fame desperately important, causing individuals to compromise their character for a shred of notoriety. The eagle is both a predator and a fighter, capable of cheating and stealing. Benjamin Franklin disliked it as a symbol for the United States, preferring the turkey, a domesticated bird with a healthy aversion to the then unpopular color red. However, the eagle also represents strength, vigilance, and certain admirable attributes. It's part of the phoenix, but not the esoteric or mystical aspect. The final stage is the phoenix itself, where all these lesser qualities are transmuted. It becomes the symbol of the reborn person, one who has experienced all the false weaknesses and failings. The individual has passed through self-improvement rituals and finally dedicated themselves to serving and continuing what's right. Therefore, the phoenix is the symbol where all lesser qualities offer their best parts, waiting for the grand transformation and transmutation. This alchemical journey through the phoenix cycle reminds us that true transformation is an individual process. We each hold the power to overcome negativity, cultivate wisdom, and rise above our limitations. As we collectively awaken to this potential, we pave the way for a world reborn in the spirit of the phoenix, a world where peace, virtue, and the pursuit of knowledge illuminate the path forward. The Phoenix Rising, a quest for illumination through transformation. The phoenix, therefore, symbolizes illumination. It represents that which rises within human consciousness when we transcend our limitations. It's a testament to the victory of eternity over fleeting time, of life over death, and of truth over error. While the full depths of these symbolic terms remain elusive, we do experience a tangible benefit with each step on our growth journey. As we strive to improve, something external changes for the better, while something internal receives a mysterious reward. These internal rewards translate into greater self-control and a more positive self-image over time. All the virtues we cultivate contribute to the realization of the supreme virtue, the complete dedication of the individual to their inherent purpose. Some might imagine such dedication to be dull and restrictive, like a person constantly dieting and feeling miserable. However, in the alchemical and mystical sense, achieving transformation is not a joyless process that strips away life's pleasures. It transforms, elevates, and refines them. It transforms happiness from a fleeting mood into something enduring, unshaken by tomorrow's misfortunes. It imbues all experiences with a sense of accomplishment, yet with a humility that fosters not only self-awareness but also a gentle acceptance of others. True transformation makes life a happier, brighter, fuller, and more rewarding adventure, but always grounded in the pursuit of virtuous values. The Phoenix cycles continue, with each iteration bringing a significant leap forward in human development and the world we inhabit. It serves as a reminder that we are never truly alone. Even when it feels like everything conspires against us, the laws of life remain constant. Every living form evolves through the 4 ages of the phoenix, growing from a seed or beginning to its ultimate fulfillment. In this sense, we each have the right to approach our mistakes and challenges with the wisdom gleaned from the phoenix cycle. Animosity, residing on the level of the scorpion, offers no benefit. Wisdom, at the serpent level, advises against such negativity. The ego, however, urges action, perhaps a confrontation or stewing in resentment. Finally, the phoenix teaches us that these perceived antagonisms are often misunderstandings. In the grand scheme of things, love, peace, kindness, and friendship hold the essence of eternity. This was the hopeful dream of the ancients, a vision that perhaps deserves our renewed contemplation. Copyright 2024 by FreeBooksTube. Thank you for listening. Please consider to subscribe, like, and share to help the channel growth. New videos on a daily basis.